Have you ever wondered why, even when your life feels comfortable, you still feel stuck? You have the cozy bed, the soft couch, the endless Netflix shows, the takeout delivered to your door, yet something deep inside whispers that you're not truly satisfied. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Comfort is a trap. We're told that the goal of life is to avoid discomfort, to make things as easy and smooth as possible. But if that's true, why do so many of us feel restless, unfulfilled, or even anxious, despite having everything we should need to be happy? The answer lies in a hidden cost of comfort. When life becomes too easy, we stop growing. When we avoid challenge, we weaken, physically, mentally, emotionally. And when we stay in our comfort zones too long, we slowly lose the courage and resilience we need to chase after the things we truly want. In this video, I'm going to show you why embracing discomfort on purpose might be the most powerful move you can make to unlock your potential. We'll explore ancient Stoic wisdom, modern science, and practical ways to break free from the comfort trap. So, if you've ever felt like you're capable of more, but can't figure out how to push yourself forward, stay with me, because growth is waiting for you, right outside your comfort zone. Alright, let's dive deeper into why discomfort matters. First, let's get one thing clear. We're not talking about making life miserable just for the sake of it. We're not saying you should throw away your mattress, give up your favorite foods, or walk barefoot on gravel every day. What we're talking about here is intentional discomfort, choosing to face challenges and step outside of the cozy bubble we naturally settle into. Why? Because at its core, growth requires discomfort. Think about it. If you've ever tried to get stronger, you know how it works. You go to the gym, you lift weights, you push your muscles past their usual limit, and then they rebuild stronger. Without that pressure, without that tiny bit of damage, they wouldn't grow. It's the same with your mind. It's the same with your emotions. It's the same with your entire life. Let me give you an example. Imagine you've always been shy about public speaking. You avoid speaking up in meetings. You dodge giving presentations. You even get nervous introducing yourself in a group. Staying in your comfort zone feels safe, right? But here's the trap. The more you avoid speaking, the harder it gets. Your confidence shrinks, and soon, even small moments of social interaction start to feel overwhelming. Now, flip the script. What if, instead of avoiding it, you lean into the discomfort? You volunteer to present a small update at work. You push yourself to speak in front of a small group. You join a local speaking club like Toastmasters. At first, it's terrifying. Your heart races, your hands sweat, you stumble over words. But little by little, you build the skill, and more importantly, you build the resilience. Over time, what used to scare you becomes second nature. That's the power of intentional discomfort. Now, this isn't just motivational fluff. This idea is backed by ancient wisdom. The Stoics, those ancient Greek and Roman philosophers, were masters of using discomfort to build strength. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoics and a Roman emperor, could have lived in luxury, but he chose to sleep on the floor and wrestle regularly. Why? To toughen his body and sharpen his mind. He knew that constant ease breeds weakness. Seneca, another great Stoic, was unbelievably rich. Think Elon Musk rich. But he regularly practiced living like a poor man. He would wear rough clothes, eat plain food, and remind himself that he could survive hardship if needed. He believed that if you prepare for adversity when things are good, you won't be destroyed when things turn bad. This philosophy is shockingly relevant today. We live in a world of instant gratification. Hungry? Tap your phone. Food arrives in minutes. Bored? Open Netflix. Endless shows. Cold? Turn up the heat. Tired? Lie back on a mattress designed for perfect comfort. But here's the hidden cost. We're getting weaker. We're less patient. We're more anxious. We crumble under even mild pressure. So how do we turn this around? We choose to get uncomfortable. That might mean physical discomfort, like exercising regularly, even when you don't feel like it. It might mean taking cold showers or trying intermittent fasting, just to remind your body that you can handle hunger and discomfort without breaking. It might mean mental discomfort, like tackling projects that scare you, learning a new skill that's outside your expertise, or setting ambitious goals that force you to stretch. Remember, your brain is like a muscle. If you don't challenge it, it weakens. Or it might mean emotional and social discomfort. Having that difficult conversation you've been avoiding, telling someone how you really feel, or allowing yourself to be vulnerable, even when it's scary. Here's the exciting part. Once you start practicing small discomforts, you'll notice something magical. Your comfort zone expands. The conversation you were terrified of last year becomes no big deal now. The skill you thought was too hard starts to feel manageable. The risks you once avoided now feel like opportunities. And with every little step, you unlock more of your potential. Let me share a personal story. A friend of mine, Emily, used to hate conflict. She avoided it at all costs, with coworkers, friends, even in her relationship. Whenever tension arose, she would shut down or quietly back away. But over time, that avoidance started to erode her confidence. She felt like she had no voice. One day, she made a decision. She was going to embrace the discomfort. She started small, speaking up in meetings, expressing her opinions, setting boundaries with friends. It was terrifying at first, but something amazing happened. She discovered she was stronger than she thought. Her relationships improved, her work life transformed, and most importantly, she transformed. That's what embracing discomfort does. It reveals the strength you already have, but haven't yet tapped into. So here's the challenge I want to leave you with for this part of the video. What's one area of your life where you've been avoiding discomfort? Is it your body, your mind, your relationships? Pick one. And this week, do something small to lean into it. Remember, growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens on purpose. It happens when you choose to get uncomfortable. In the next part of this video, we'll explore specific practical ways you can apply this to your daily life. So stick around. Now that we've talked about why discomfort is essential for growth, let's explore how you can actually bring this idea into your daily life. I get it. It's one thing to understand that discomfort helps you grow, but it's another to apply it when your brain is wired to avoid anything unpleasant. So here's the good news. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You just need to start small, with intentional challenges that stretch you little by little. Let's break it down into three powerful areas: physical, mental, and emotional discomfort. 1. Physical discomfort. Strengthen your body and willpower. Physical challenges are often the easiest place to start because the feedback is immediate. You feel it in your body, the sweat, the soreness, the racing heart. You don't need to become a triathlete or a bodybuilder. Small changes make a huge difference. For example, take cold showers a few times a week. Yes, it's shocking at first, but you'll quickly learn that you can handle more than you think. Walk or bike instead of driving short distances. Feel the effort in your legs, the sun on your skin, the occasional discomfort of rain or wind. Start an exercise routine that pushes you just past your current limit, whether it's lifting a bit more weight, running a bit farther, or holding that yoga pose a few seconds longer. Here's a fun story. A friend of mine, James, decided to sign up for a 10K race even though he had never run more than a mile. At first, the training was brutal, sore legs, burning lungs, constant doubts, but week after week he kept showing up. And when race day arrived, not only did he finish, but he discovered a new identity. I'm someone who can do hard things. That shift in mindset spilled over into other parts of his life, at work, in relationships, in personal goals. Number 2, mental discomfort. Stretch your brain and your courage. Your brain, just like your muscles, needs to be challenged to stay sharp. In today's world, it's easy to slip into passive habits, scrolling social media, watching endless videos, doing just enough to get by. But what if you flip that pattern? What if you intentionally pick challenging projects that scare you a little? For example, learn a new skill that feels intimidating. Coding, graphic design, public speaking, a new language. Take on a project at work that pushes you outside your comfort zone, even if you're worried you might fail. Commit to reading books that challenge your thinking, not just entertain you. Remember, mental discomfort isn't about feeling dumb or defeated. It's about staying curious and resilient. Here's a quick example. My cousin Sarah always dreamed of starting her own online business, but she kept holding back because, well, taxes, marketing, legal stuff, all overwhelming. Finally, she decided to lean into the discomfort. She signed up for a small business course, joined an entrepreneur community, and yes, she fumbled, she stumbled, but she learned. Now her side hustle is thriving, and she's proud of what she built. 3. Emotional and social discomfort. Deepen your connections and confidence. Let's be honest, this one might be the hardest. Most of us avoid emotional discomfort because it makes us feel vulnerable, exposed, or awkward. But here's the truth. Your biggest growth often happens in relationships. If you want to expand emotionally, start by having that tough conversation you've been avoiding, whether it's with a partner, friend, or coworker. Practicing vulnerability. Share your feelings, admit when you're wrong, ask for help. Taking small social risks. Introduce yourself to someone new, speak up in a group, join a new community or club. Here's a real-life example. One of my viewers, Rachel, wrote to me last year about how socially anxious she was. She'd avoid parties, skip networking events, even dodge phone calls. But she decided to challenge herself by setting a goal. Talk to one new person every day. It started with small chats at the coffee shop, then grew into deeper conversations at meetups and events. A year later, she's not only more confident, but has built a supportive circle of friends she never thought possible. A simple exercise for you. All right, before we move on, I want you to try this. Grab a notebook or open your notes app and write down one small discomfort challenge in each of these areas. Physical, mental, emotional, social. For example, physical, do 10 push-ups every morning. Mental, spend 30 minutes learning a new skill online. Emotional, call a friend you've been meaning to reconnect with. These don't have to be huge. The goal is to stretch, not break. Small, consistent steps are what create real change. Closing thoughts for this section. Remember, discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the pathway to strength, resilience, and joy. The Stoics understood this 2,000 years ago, and modern science backs it up today. Every time you lean into discomfort, you're telling yourself, I am capable of more. And little by little, that belief reshapes your life. In the next part of this video, we'll explore the hidden benefits you unlock when you make discomfort a daily habit. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. So stay with me, we're just getting started. Reason 1. Discomfort makes you mentally and physically stronger. Alright, let's jump into reason 1. The first big reason why embracing discomfort can change your life. Discomfort makes you mentally and physically stronger. I want you to really think about this. When was the last time you grew in life without any kind of challenge? Did you suddenly become stronger, wiser, or braver just by sitting on the couch, scrolling through your phone, or watching TV? Of course not. Here's the truth. We only improve when we're tested. Just like your muscles grow when they're put under stress, your mind and your emotional resilience grow when you face challenges. Let me give you a classic example. Let's say you want to build muscle. You go to the gym, you lift weights, you push yourself through that burn, that discomfort, that moment where your body says, I want to stop. But you push a little more, and that's when growth happens. Without the resistance, your muscles wouldn't have a reason to adapt. Without stress, there's no change. Now, take that same idea and apply it to your mental strength. When you solve a difficult problem, when you push through a tough situation, when you face something you're scared of, Your brain, just like your muscles, rewires itself to handle more next time. Every time you face discomfort and survive it, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than you thought. Let me tell you a story about Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers and a Roman emperor. This man had the power, wealth, and luxury to live the most comfortable life imaginable. He could have surrounded himself with soft beds, rich foods, endless entertainment. But you know what he did? He deliberately chose discomfort. He slept on the floor instead of his luxurious bed. He practiced wrestling and physical training regularly, even though he didn't need to. Why? Because he understood that a soft body leads to a soft mind. He wanted to stay sharp, tough, and ready, not just physically, but mentally. Now let's bring this to today. Modern life makes it so easy to avoid discomfort. Feeling cold, turn up the heat. Feeling hungry, order food. Feeling bored, scroll your phone, open Netflix. We barely even need to leave our couches anymore. But here's the hidden cost. We're getting softer. We're less resilient. We give up faster when things get hard. I want you to pause here and ask yourself, when was the last time you willingly chose to do something physically or mentally difficult? Here's a relatable example. I have a friend, Alex, who decided one year to sign up for a half marathon. Now, Alex wasn't a runner. In fact, he kind of hated running. But he wanted to prove to himself that he could take on a physical challenge. For months, he trained, running on sore legs, pushing through cold mornings, dealing with the frustration of slow progress. It wasn't easy, but every time he wanted to quit, he reminded himself, discomfort is where growth happens. And guess what? By race day, he didn't just have stronger legs, he had a stronger mind. He told me, once I crossed that finish line, I felt like I could take on anything, not just in running, but at work, in my relationships, in life. Here's the key idea I want you to remember. When you voluntarily put yourself through discomfort, you're building your ability to handle future challenges. You're training your mind and body to not collapse at the first sign of struggle. This is especially important because life will throw hard things at you whether you like it or not. If you wait for adversity to hit before you toughen up, you'll be caught off guard. But if you prepare, if you build that strength ahead of time, you'll be ready. So, how can you apply this right now? Here are some simple practices. Start exercising regularly, even if it's just short walks or home workouts. Push yourself to do a little more each week. More reps, more time, more intensity. Try physical discomfort practices like cold showers or fasting if it's safe and healthy for you. Take on a mental challenge, solve puzzles, learn a difficult skill, take on work that pushes your abilities. Remember, you don't need to go extreme. You don't need to become a Navy SEAL or a world-class athlete. The goal is simply to stretch beyond where you are now. Small, consistent discomfort builds a foundation of strength over time. Let me wrap up this section with something powerful. The Stoics believe that fortune favors the prepared mind. When you train yourself to handle discomfort, you're not just building strength for today, you're preparing for whatever storms may come. And here's the beautiful part. Once you learn to embrace discomfort, you stop fearing it. You start seeing challenges as opportunities. You realize that you're capable of so much more than you thought. Welcome back. We've just covered reason 1, how discomfort makes you mentally and physically stronger. Now let's move into reason 2. Discomfort prepares you for hard times. Let me ask you something personal. What happens when life suddenly gets tough? Maybe you lose your job. Maybe someone you love gets sick. Maybe you face an unexpected breakup, a financial hit, or a personal failure. Most of us live as if these things won't happen. We wrap ourselves in layers of convenience and comfort, hoping that tomorrow will look just like today. But here's the hard truth. No one is immune to adversity. It doesn't matter how smart, talented, or successful you are. Life will test you. The Stoics understood this deeply. Let me tell you about Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers. Seneca was rich, like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk level rich for his time. He had wealth, status, and power, but he knew none of it was guaranteed. So what did he do? He practiced voluntary hardship. Seneca would intentionally dress in ragged clothes, eat the simplest, most basic meals, and live for stretches of time as if he were poor, even though he didn't have to. Why? Because he believed that if you prepare for hardship before it comes, you won't be destroyed when it arrives. He wrote, "We should prepare for adversity amidst the favors of fortune." This wasn't about being pessimistic or negative. It was about building mental toughness. Seneca knew that if fate turned against him, if he lost everything, he'd already proven to himself that he could survive. Now let's bring that ancient wisdom into modern life. Today, we live in a world that promises constant security, insurance, safety nets, digital backups. But as we saw in recent global events, like the pandemic, economic downturns, and political instability, life can change overnight. When you avoid discomfort completely, you leave yourself unprepared. But when you practice discomfort, you build the kind of resilience that helps you bounce back faster. Let me give you a real example. I have a friend, Kevin, who worked in corporate sales for nearly a decade. He was earning good money, living comfortably, enjoying all the perks. But he had this nagging thought in the back of his mind. What if one day this all disappears? Exactly as you provided. Instead of ignoring that fear, Kevin decided to act on it. He started learning new skills in his free time: digital marketing, coding, and investing. He challenged himself by taking freelance projects on weekends, even though it meant sacrificing rest and comfort. And guess what happened? 2 years later, when his company went through massive layoffs, Kevin was among those let go. Was he devastated? Yes. But was he crushed? No. Because he'd already built up the skills, the discipline, and the resilience to pivot quickly. Within 3 months, Kevin was running his own small online business, making more than he had at his old job. That's the power of preparing for hard times before they arrive. Here's another smaller scale example you can apply right now. Let's say you're someone who always relies on having food delivered. It's convenient, it's easy, it's fast. But what happens if one day, you can't afford it, or there's a crisis where deliveries aren't available? Practicing small discomforts, like cooking your own meals, learning to grocery shop on a budget, or going without certain luxuries, trains you to adapt if circumstances change. It's not about living in fear. It's about building confidence that you can handle change. So, how can you start applying this idea? Here are some practical tips. Occasionally, challenge yourself to live with less. Less spending, less luxury, less convenience. Practice doing things the hard way sometimes. Walk instead of driving. Hand wash dishes instead of using the dishwasher. Unplug from screens and sit with your thoughts. Build self-reliance skills. Learn to cook, fix small things around the house, manage your finances better. These small acts create a mindset shift. You stop fearing hardship because you've already shown yourself that you can endure it. The Stoics had a saying, "Misfortune weighs most heavily on those who expect nothing but good fortune." In other words, the people who fall apart during hard times are usually the ones who were never prepared. By contrast, those who regularly stretch themselves, test themselves, and willingly embrace challenge become shock-proof. Think about it this way. If you practice carrying small weights every day, when life throws a heavy burden on your shoulders, you're more likely to stand tall instead of collapsing. Let me leave you with this reflection. Where in your life are you over-reliant on comfort and ease? What's one area where you could start preparing yourself, even just a little, for potential hardship? Maybe it's your finances. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your mindset. Training yourself to stay calm under stress. Remember, the goal here isn't to become paranoid or live in constant fear. It's to build a quiet, unshakable confidence that whatever comes, you'll be ready. Now let's move into reason 3, and this one might surprise you. Discomfort makes you more grateful. Let me explain. You've probably heard the saying, you don't know what you've got until it's gone. It's true, right? We often take the things we have, our health, our relationships, even simple comforts like food or a warm bed, completely for granted until something shakes us up and makes us notice them again. But here's the cool part. You don't have to wait for something bad to happen to rediscover gratitude. By voluntarily embracing discomfort, you can reset your brain's appreciation system and learn to enjoy the things you already have more deeply. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you've been hiking all day under the hot sun. You're sweaty, your legs ache, and you're parched. When you finally take that first sip of cold water, oh my God, it tastes like heaven. It's just water, right? Something you drink every day without thinking. But because you went without it, because you endured discomfort, you now experience it as a gift. That's the magic of discomfort. It snaps you out of what psychologists call hedonic adaptation, the tendency for humans to get used to things, even really good things, and stop noticing them. Here's another example. Remember the early days of the pandemic when people couldn't go out to restaurants or meet friends in person? When those things were taken away, suddenly we realized how much joy they actually brought us. And when restrictions lifted, even the simplest coffee date or dinner out felt exciting and special. But over time, we started to take those things for granted again. Why? Because that's what our brains do. They normalize things. Unless, of course, we intentionally shake things up. This is where Stoic practices come in. The Stoics believed that by practicing voluntary discomfort, like fasting, dressing simply, or giving up luxuries for short periods, they could train their minds to appreciate life more. Seneca, for example, didn't just practice poverty to toughen up for bad times. He also did it so that when he returned to his normal, comfortable life, he felt grateful instead of entitled. He would eat plain, tasteless meals for days, and then return to his regular diet and savor every bite. He would sleep on the floor, then return to his soft bed with a deep sense of appreciation. This wasn't about punishing himself. It was about resetting his brain, stepping off the hedonic treadmill so he could enjoy life more fully. So how can you apply this idea in your own life? Here are a few simple practices you can try. Fasting or simplifying your meals. Go a day or two eating only plain, simple foods. When you return to your usual meals, you'll notice the flavors and textures much more vividly. Taking a break from luxuries. Skip your favorite coffee shop or streaming service for a week. When you return, you'll appreciate it more, or maybe even realize you don't need it as much as you thought. Going without conveniences. Walk or bike instead of driving. Hand wash clothes or dishes instead of using machines. Feel the effort and let it remind you how much convenience surrounds you every day. Practicing minimalism. Spend a weekend with as few possessions or distractions as possible. No social media, no shopping, just you and the basics. See what insights or feelings emerge. Let me share a personal story. A while back, I decided to do a digital detox weekend. No phone, no laptop, no TV, just books, nature, and quiet time. At first, it was agonizing. My fingers kept twitching for my phone. I felt restless and even a little panicked. But by the end of the second day, something shifted. I noticed how peaceful it was to just sit and watch the trees sway in the wind. I felt grateful for the simple sound of birds, for a cup of tea, for the chance to just be without constant noise. And when I returned to my digital life on Monday, I didn't just dive back in mindlessly. I appreciated the tools and connections technology offers, instead of letting them control me. Here's the key takeaway. Discomfort isn't just about building toughness or preparing for disaster. It's about enhancing your joy and gratitude right now. When you voluntarily step away from the things you usually take for granted, you reawaken your sense of wonder. You remind yourself how lucky you are. And that, my friend, is one of the most beautiful forms of growth. So here's a little challenge for you. What's one comfort you could give up just for a short time to reset your appreciation? It doesn't have to be dramatic. Even skipping dessert for a few days or turning off your phone for an evening can create a powerful shift. Remember, the goal isn't to suffer, it's to remind yourself how much you already have to be grateful for. In the next part of this video, we'll wrap everything up and talk about how to turn these ideas into long-term habits that transform your life. Stick with me, you're doing amazing so far. All right, we've come a long way. We've talked about why embracing discomfort matters, how it makes you stronger, prepares you for hard times, and deepens your gratitude. But here's the big question. How do you actually make discomfort part of your daily life without burning out or giving up? Because let's be real, it's one thing to know this stuff and another to live it consistently. So in this final section, I'm going to break down practical steps you can take to weave small doses of discomfort into your routine in a way that feels challenging but sustainable. Step 1. Start small and simple. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they hear advice like this is thinking they need to go all in right away. They say, all right, I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m., take ice baths, run marathons, and meditate for an hour every day. But here's the truth. Massive change rarely sticks. It's the small, repeatable actions that create real transformation over time. So ask yourself, what's one small discomfort you can introduce today? For example, take a cold shower for just 30 seconds at the end of your regular warm shower. Skip your afternoon snack to practice gentle hunger. Go for a walk in the rain instead of waiting for perfect weather. Speak up once in your next meeting, even if your voice shakes. These little acts signal to your brain, hey, I can handle this, and they build momentum. Step 2, choose one physical, one mental, and one emotional challenge. To keep your growth balanced, I recommend picking one challenge in each of these 3 areas. Physical, something that pushes your body, exercise, cold, heat, fasting, effort. Mental, something that stretches your mind, learning, problem solving, trying something new. Emotional, social, something that stirs your heart. Difficult conversations, vulnerability, social risk. Here's a personal example. Last year, I set a goal to physical, do 10 push-ups every morning, no matter how tired I was. Mental, read 10 pages of a challenging book every night, no scrolling before bed. Emotional, send one message a week to reconnect with someone I'd lost touch with. Were these huge, life-altering tasks? No, but over time, they built strength, resilience, and connection in ways I couldn't have imagined. Step 3. Track your wins and reflect. Here's a powerful trick most people skip. Write down what you did and how you felt afterward. Why? Because your brain needs evidence that discomfort is worth it. If you just power through challenges without reflecting, you'll miss the chance to reinforce the positive impact. So keep a little journal or note on your phone. Each day, jot down, what discomfort did I embrace today? How did it feel? What did I learn or gain from it? You'll start to notice patterns. Wow, I actually feel more energized on days I push myself. That conversation was awkward, but I feel relieved now that it's done. I'm proud of myself for not giving up, even when it was hard. This practice rewires your mindset and makes you crave growth instead of avoiding it. Step 4. Push the edge, but don't break. Now, here's something really important. Discomfort is a tool, not a punishment. You're not here to destroy yourself. You're here to stretch, not snap. If you push too hard, too fast, you risk burnout. And then you'll associate discomfort with failure or exhaustion. Instead, think of your comfort zone like a muscle. You want to challenge it, stretch it, but also let it recover and adapt. For example, if you're pushing yourself with physical workouts, balance them with rest days. If you're taking on emotional challenges, give yourself space to process. If you're mentally overloading, step back and let your brain reset. Remember, this is a lifelong practice, not a 30-day sprint. Step 5. Celebrate and share. Finally, don't forget to celebrate your growth. Too often we focus only on what's next, the next goal, the next challenge, the next milestone. But take a moment to recognize how far you've already come. Share your progress with a friend, a mentor, or even in the comments below this video. When you celebrate your wins, you reinforce the idea that discomfort leads to rewards, and that makes you more likely to keep going. All right, we've reached the end of this journey together, and I just want to take a moment to thank you for sticking with me. I know this wasn't always an easy topic. Talking about discomfort, challenge, and growth can bring up all kinds of feelings. Excitement, maybe a little fear, maybe even some resistance. But the fact that you're here, listening and reflecting, already shows me something powerful. You are someone who's ready to grow. Let's quickly recap what we've covered today. We explored why embracing discomfort matters, not because suffering is noble or pain is good for its own sake, but because discomfort is the gateway to strength, resilience, gratitude, and deep, meaningful change. We talked about how you can introduce small, intentional challenges into your daily life, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional, and how these small steps over time create massive transformation. And we talked about how discomfort isn't something to fear. It's something to welcome, gently and intentionally, as a tool for building your best, most authentic self. Before you click away, I want to invite you to do three small things, if you feel like it. No pressure. First, like this video if you found even one useful idea today. It really helps this message reach more people who might need it. Second, subscribe if you want to keep exploring topics like this together. I'd love to have you as part of this growing community. And third, drop a comment below. What's one small discomfort you're going to embrace this week? I read every single comment, and I'd love to cheer you on or hear your reflections. Thank you again for spending your time here. Remember, life doesn't get better by staying in the safe zone. It gets better when you step to the edge, take a breath, and choose to grow. You are stronger than you know, and I can't wait to see where you go next. Take care, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.